Some stories, they grab you from the very first sentence and just refuse to let go. Today, we're going to look at an absolute masterclass in how to do that. The first chapter of Gary Paulsen's incredible survival novel, Hatchet. We're going to break it down piece by piece and see how this one chapter sets up one of the most compelling adventures in modern literature.
But first, just imagine this. You're 13. You're in a tiny little plane, thousands of feet up in the air, flying over this endless, empty wilderness. And the person sitting next to you, the only other person on the plane, the pilot, dies. What do you do? I mean, really, what do you do? This isn't just some crazy hypothetical. It's the nightmare that kicks off this entire book.
Now, for anyone who hasn't had the chance to read it, Hatchet is everything this cover promises. It is the classic survival story. It's won a ton of awards, sold millions of copies, and for a really, really good reason. Its power starts in the absolutely devastatingly effective setup we're about to walk through.
So our story begins where Brian's does, up in the air. This is the silent flight. And it's where Gary Paulsen brilliantly introduces not one, but two absolutely critical conflicts right off the bat.
So here he is, our protagonist, 13-year-old Brian Robeson. And he's not in the back like a normal passenger. No, he's right up front, in the co-pilot seat of this tiny Cessna, just staring out at the, quote, endless green northern wilderness below. The engine is so loud you can't even hear yourself think. So he's already completely physically isolated.
But that physical isolation, that's nothing compared to what's going on in his head. The thinking, as the book puts it, starts with just one single word: divorce. And for Brian, it's not just a word. It's this tearing, ugly thing. It meant his whole world was, quote, coming apart, and the breaking and shattering of all the solid things.
But then Paulsen goes even deeper. It's not just the divorce itself that's tearing him up. It's something Brian knows. A secret with a capital S. Something he saw, something about his mother that has totally cut him off from his own family and has him trapped inside his own mind.
And while Brian is stuck in his head, just stewing in this secret, Paulsen slips in the story's most important physical object, almost like it's no big deal. This comes in Section 2, The Mother's Gift. We flash back to that car ride to the airport, and it's one of those long, silent trips that's just heavy with all the things nobody is saying. His mother, who can't stand the tension, finally reaches into the back and pulls out a paper bag. Inside is a gift for his trip to see his dad.
And here it is, the hatchet. The book describes it in such perfect detail: a steel handle, a rubber hand grip, this tough leather case, and a belt loop with brass rivets. I mean, it's the ultimate tool, right? But to Brian, right then, it's just this weird, awkward thing from his mom.
And the thing is, he doesn't even want it. He thinks it looks ridiculous. Hokey is the word he uses. But he sees this fragile hope in his mother's eyes, and just to make her happy, to end the awkward moment, he puts it on his belt. And then, he completely forgets it's even there. The single most important object for his survival is literally attached to him by a thread of guilt. It's brilliant.
So you've got Brian's internal pain, and you've got this physical tool he doesn't even know he needs. That brings us to the third crucial piece of this whole setup. In Section 3, an unexpected lesson. Back in the plane, the pilot, who's a pretty quiet guy, makes this simple, kind gesture. He sees this quiet kid sitting next to him and just decides, hey, I'll show him a little something. He offers him a quick lesson on how to fly the plane, just to pass the time. And the lesson itself is so simple it's almost funny. Hands on the wheel, feet on the rudder pedals. The pilot shows him how a little turn here and a little push on the pedal there will steer the plane. It's maybe a 30-second lesson. A lesson that is about to mean the difference between life and death. And for just a moment, as Brian feels the plane actually respond to his touch, everything else just vanishes. The secret, the divorce, the burning tears in his eyes, it's all gone. He's connected to something real, something outside his own misery. It's this tiny little act of grace right before absolute horror is unleashed.
And just as Brian has this brief moment of connection, his entire world shifts on its axis. Section 4. A sudden sickness.
It starts small. So small you'd barely notice. The pilot takes back the controls and he kind of casually rubs his left shoulder. He mutters something about aches and pains, just chalks it up to getting older. Brian's already lost back in his own thoughts and he hardly even registers it.
But then, it escalates with terrifying speed. A complaint about his stomach turns into a hiss. Then there's a jolt that the book describes like a hammer blow. And finally, a scream that changes absolutely everything. Chest Oh God, my chest is coming apart.
And in that instant, Brian knows. This isn't just a stomachache. The pilot is having a heart attack. The book tells us he'd seen this happen once before, to a man at the mall, so he knows exactly what this is. The crisis outside his head has just completely and violently taken over the one that was inside it.
And this brings us to the final, absolutely chilling climax of the chapter, Section 5, Alone at the Controls.
The pilot's body spasms, his head slams back against the seat, and then it lurches forward. Spit comes from his mouth, his eyes roll back in his head until there was only white, and this foul smell just fills the tiny cockpit. The man is gone. And this creates the stunning contrast. The engine is still roaring, right? This deafening noise is filling up this tiny space, but all Brian feels is a strange feeling of silence. The human sound is gone, and in that silence, he feels utterly and completely alone.
Brian's mind, his body, they just shut down. The book says he was stricken with a white flash of horror. His breathing, his thinking, his heart, everything inside him just stops. He is paralyzed by the impossible reality of what he just saw.
7,000. That's the altitude. 7,000 feet. This single, stark number just perfectly quantifies the sheer scale of his problem. He is alone in a roaring machine he has no idea how to fly, over a wilderness that will swallow him whole, and he is over a mile up in the air.
And that is how the chapter ends, with these unforgettable lines. He was alone. In the roaring plain with no pilot, he was alone. 7,000 feet above the northern wilderness. It's the perfect setup, the perfect emotional state, and the perfect terrifying question that just forces you to turn the page. What happens next?